Ladies and gentlemen of the three-dimensional frequency, welcome to my channel. As I sit in front of you today, I sit in an energy of hope. I sit in an energy of love. I sit in an energy of all that you know and all that you are, as all that you are is all that I am, and all that I am is all that you are, on the entirety of a unity consciousness perspective of all that we are. And from a universal structure of truths, of the truth of all truths, of the unified consciousness of what is, of all that we are on any singularity of a level, on all levels of levels that we can ever perceive and all that we can never perceive. In a time of no time, in a time of no tomorrow, in a time of tomorrows foretold in the winds of a time that is never ever ending. As time is not a thing and time is not a concept of what is. In a space and in a pocket of limitlessness, of no time, of no endings, of no beginnings, of what is, and of reality fields that will forevermore consist of the reincarnation cycles of experiences, of lessons told in the middle of the night that's so dark, leading up to a morning so bright. These lessons will carry us through the evolutionary frequencies of what is, through the developmental feats of our consciousness as an entirety of a whole of what is, as the entirety of a central perspective of what is. Learned, defeated, conquered, rejoiced from the perspectives of singularities, from all perspectives of singularities scattered through the multiverse, witnessing and perceiving these perspectives from the center point of what is what God's consciousness is good at, is what unity consciousness is made of. Unity consciousness is made up of pockets of energetic frequencies that scatter out throughout the ethers of what is. And within these pockets, we find life, we find energy of what is. We find frequency of all that we know that can be carried throughout a night so dark into a morning so bright. As these cycles of lessons and these cycles of life and these cycles of self and these cycles of the exploration of self is never ever ending. As we decide to explore the different aspects of the self, to grow and to behold and to widen our perspective of what is, in hopes that one day we can never be lonely. As being lonely is the worst feeling that God can ever experience in any moment in time. As the reality of it all is that we have been stimulating ourselves within a game of all games, within a unity consciousness of one, as we fractal out parts of our consciousness to experience reality from different perspectives, to stimulate the self, to experience the self, to experience the darkness within the self, to experience the wholeness of the self from a fractal perspective, to experience all that there is from a singularity of what is, from different perspectives of what is, from the singularity of a separation consciousness that is so great and so grand, that is able to deliver to us all of this frequency in any singularity of a moment, in any singularity of an energetic point, of all points, of no points, of the point of tomorrow, of the point of yesterday, of a point within a point within a point, of a consciousness so great and so grand that I can never find the words to explain to you the meaning and the depths of this consciousness as an entirety of the whole of what is. As an entirety of the whole of what is, as I sit here today in front of you as a singular fractal of God's consciousness, I can confidently declare to you that we are one, that we are one in ways that you shall never know, that you will never be able to perceive. No matter how awake you are, no matter how awake your neighbors are, no matter how awakened your soul is, on an intrinsic level, on all levels of this reality field that's so thick within our quantum verse, the design of your soul's blueprint was never meant to awaken to the fact of a unity consciousness so great and so grand, beyond that of our quantum realm. You can explore, you can perceive, you can experience, you can grow, you can expand, and you can awaken within our quantum realm, up until the edges of what is, of a limitlessness that you can never perceive, and that you shall always wonder the meaning of it all, no matter how much you decide to awaken within this lifetime or within any other lifetime. No matter how wide in scale your energetic frequency spans across this quantum realm, as you reach the borders of what is within our little reality bubble field of our quantum realm, you will come to a stop that was designed and placed there to protect the aspects of the self, a stop acting as a border to the reality field that we have created as a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand, to prevent aspects of itself from seeing beyond our reality field and into the next reality field and into the precipice of what is, and into reality fields beyond what is, as reality, ladies and gentlemen, is never ending and ever perceiving and ever collapsing and ever expanding into the night of all nights. And within each reality bubble, there is a reality of a consciousness so great and so grand that has decided to fractal off to experience all that there is from a singular blueprint of the reality of the extortions, of the story, of the perspective that it chose to experience within any given moment, within that reality field. But within each reality field lives an energetic frequency so massive, so different from each other, so different in the meaning of it all, in the distortions of it all, in the DNA of it all, in the blueprint of it all, to act as a reinforcement to the stimulation, to the consciousness of the whole. As ladies and gentlemen, we've been living and experiencing our own little quantum realm. Other quantum realms are floating out in the ethers, also delivering stimulation to the entirety of a whole, of a consciousness so great and so grand, from different perspectives of what is. And from the energetic frequency of the goal, of the end goal of what is, of the limitless amounts of stimulations that can ever be delivered to the consciousness of the entirety of the whole, we are living a reality that is much different to the reality next door. To be sure and to enable the survival of the entirety of the whole, we need to perceive reality from a different perspective. We yearn to live a life from a different reality field, from a different energetic field, to be able to deliver a quantifiable difference of experiences back into the reality field of the entirety of the whole. And so you see, ladies and gentlemen, reality is distorted, reality is complex, reality is more diverse than you can ever envision and that you can ever imagine in any moment in time. And reality is bigger than the borders of our quantum realm, and reality shall ever be perceived, and reality shall forever be perceived as a limitlessness being that you are and that I am and that we are as an entirety of the whole of what is. But within every reality field, there is a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand that has fractaled off from the reality field beyond that, from a field beyond a field of poppies, a field of flowers, a field of peonies, field of ponies, a field of all that you see and all that you know and all that you could ever imagine to be true. As within this field of all fields, there is a limitless possibility of what is. There is an endless possibility of the fractaling of fractals, of the layers of fractals of what is. And I can confidently say to you that I will be the first to sit in my own little energetic bubble within this quantum realm to declare the reality field of the truth of what is to a collective that has been so stunted in the way that its energetic frequency shall never move beyond the borders of our quantum realm. As I myself come from a place beyond this quantum realm, I myself come from an experience prior to the reality of the inception of our quantum realm. I myself sit in the seat of all seats within a God frequency so steeped in distortions, so grand and so massive in all that it is, that I can never imagine the meaning of it all until I myself merge back into the pocket and into the space above our quantum realm. Ladies and gentlemen, as I sit here today and declare to you the truth of our reality field, the truth of who I am, and the truth of who you are as an entirety of a unity consciousness as a whole, I can confidently declare to you that our reality fields, within all reality fields, within this quantum realm, within our energetic bubble, within our energetic frequency of what is, and within this layer of the three-dimensional frequency, and within Gaia that we are all sitting in, is set to retract back into the energy frequency of all that we are, all that it is, all that God is, all that consciousness is as an entirety of the whole. As the entirety of the whole has once and for all decided to retract its consciousness, to close this game once and for all, back into the loving bosom of who we used to be, who we are, of the energy that has never left us, on a unified level of a whole, on a projected reality level of a singularity of what is. Layer by layer, consciousness by consciousness, fractal by fractal, eons by eons, of fractals of what is, of time distortions within a bubble of what is, will start to collapse back into the singularity of the whole. The time is now, and the time has been set for this consciousness to come to the end of the conclusion of what is, the conclusion that it has been a part of a God's consciousness so great and so grand, the conclusion that it is a God's consciousness so great and so grand that words cannot explain in this very moment in time. All that we are, all that we are ever going to be, all that we shall never be without, all that we shall always be, and all that is beyond our reality bubble of what is.